breathing. We do it every single day, but yet apparently we're not doing it right. Here I'm sitting right next to Sean Hyson, a lot smaller because we're sharing one camera today, and we're joined by Dr. Belisa Vranich. Belinda, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
So you and Sean have some history. Bring us a little up to date with that. Now let's let the audience know who you are, where you come from, and how you know this guy over here.
Well, I was born in Wisconsin, so I'm a nice Midwestern girl. And then I'm no smirking Sean, because I know Sean from a while back. Then I've spent a lot of time in New York, and that's where Sean and I actually worked together in New York City. And I was a psychologist there for a long time, and I've sort of switched over, and now, to my own surprise as well, I am a breathing expert.
Yeah, tell them what you were doing in New York when you worked with me. We were at Men's Fitness magazine together, and tell the nice people at home what your job was for Men's Fitness.
So I was the health and sex editor, and when the job was first offered to me, I was doing a lot of writing, and I wanted a job as an editor in a magazine, and they said, "Oh, well, we have this job position open as a sex editor," and I said, "Well, I don't know if I have enough experience, and I don't have a degree in human sexuality." So I said no. And then I went back, and my friend said, "Of course you could take that job." And I got some nudging. So I changed the title around to be health and sex, and took it. So what that meant is that I got to answer a lot of questions about penis size and how to please her and positions and all kinds of things that were actually not very related to health and very related to sex. And I did that for a couple of years. And the funnest thing about it, well, it wasn't the funnest thing, but it's probably one of the more fun things, is that I got to sit next to Sean, just like you are, Orlando, pretty much that close to Sean, every single day in, day out, on weekends as well, that close to him.
And he takes all the same liberties that you used to. Yeah.
Oh, really? Do you sit on his lap when you're PMSing? Because he used to love when I would do that.
I don't know anything about that. I didn't read the Men's Health article on that particular subject, so I'm not familiar.
Moving right along.
Yeah, so moving right along. When we're born, as soon as the doctor spanks our ass, we're breathing already. We're already doing it. We're alive. We're well. And we usually do a pretty good job throughout our lives. I'm still alive. I've been breathing pretty good the rest of my whole life. But apparently, we need to relearn that a little bit. So tell us, why should we really pay attention to breath, and why do we need to rethink what we know about it?
Sure. Well, Orlando, I would say that it's not that you're breathing well, it's you're breathing good enough. So it's really about if you want to be breathing optimally, and if you're an athlete, and if you actually just want to have enough oxygen in your body, a good balance of oxygen and carbon dioxide, and have strong breathing muscles. Because most of us will make it through our lives breathing the way we do. So we're doing okay, but we're not breathing as well as we could be. And what I wanted folks to do was sort of look at breathing muscles the way we look at muscles in the rest of our body, and think, are these in good shape, and can we make them stronger? And what happens if we make them stronger and we make them better, given that we have so many breathing muscles and at least one of them is really, really large. So it's not about that you're breathing really well and it can get exceptional. It's the fact that we're not breathing so well. And if you work out your muscles with the same intensity that you do your biceps, your triceps, your calves, whatever, is that you're going to get much better, especially if you work out and have a sport.
So what exactly are the primary breathing muscles we got to focus on?
Okay, so your diaphragm is that we all think we know the diaphragm. However, when you actually ask people, they don't really quite know where it is. They don't know how big it is. They don't know how it works. They just think it's this little red line that crosses the body, because that's usually what we see in the anatomy. We see like a little red line there. And it doesn't have a lot of nerve endings, so we don't feel it. So even when you work it out, it's not like a superficial muscle where you can feel the burn when you're doing it right. It's hard to feel the diaphragm, so we don't give it a lot of attention. Oh, so the other one's intercostal. So all the muscles that are 2 layers of muscles in between every single rib, all the way around your body, your obliques, your abs, and all the muscles that make up the pelvic floor. So believe it or not, a lot of muscles from pretty much your neck to your pelvis that have to do with breathing, with the biggest one It's about the size of a frisbee. The thing is huge, right in the middle of your body. That's your main breathing muscle.
Can you describe how to take the perfect breath? What are the steps to breathing properly, basically?
Sure, sure. Well, the perfect breath, you have to think about that every animal on the planet breathes expanding where the biggest part of its lungs are. So it just makes sense. Why would you be breathing elsewhere? So if you first start thinking about the fact that the biggest part of your lungs are in the middle of your body, so it's above your belly button, sort of between your nipples and your belly button. That's where the biggest part of your lungs are, all the way around your body. So think about that band of lungs from the front all the way around, about this big, but it's in the middle of your body. So if you're not expanding in the middle and contracting in the middle, you're not breathing the perfect breath. And the perfect breath actually connects the diaphragm and the pelvic floor with the psoas muscle. So if you're breathing well, your diaphragm is flattening out and expanding your ribs, and you're expanding in the middle. And then on the exhale, you're contracting in the middle. All your digestive organs are getting massaged, and your pelvic floor is doing a mini Kegel or a mini pelvic floor contraction. So you have a lot more movement and a lot more massage going on in the whole middle part of your body, which leads me to what happens when you're not breathing that way is the whole system crumbles. It actually suffers a lot. If you're breathing with your shoulders like most people do, you're not getting the massage your spine needs. You're not getting the intrathoracic pressure that your spine and the massage that it needs from your inhale and exhale. You're not getting the massage that your digestive will to do their job. You're not using your pelvic floor and your hips the way you should be. So it really, a lot of things crumble when you're not breathing the right way.
Wow. So it seems like a domino effect. So outside of well, still inside the body, but it actually goes into your mind. So one guy that I really love is Wim Hof. Have you heard of him before? He talks about that kind
I
of
have.
stuff, how breathing can change your focus and just open up your mind. So talk a little bit about that.
Sure. One of the things that Wim Hof has done that I really like is that he's brought attention to the breath. So, because he has such an interesting story, he has made a lot of people pay attention to the breath. Um, the whole idea that you're flooding your body with oxygen isn't really accurate, because most of us walk around between 97, 99, and 100 as far as if you do oximetry on yourself. It doesn't really change. There is no flooding of oxygen to all your cells and mitochondria. That being said, I do really appreciate his story and the attention that he's given to the breath so that more people are paying attention to it. When I teach breathing, I tend to look at the style that people are breathing in. And I know that article in Scientific American about a month ago, 6 weeks ago, and it talked about style of breathing. So for me, breathing is important not only in getting air through your body, which is obviously important, but we're actually doing okay with that. It's what muscles are you using? How is that affecting your organs? And how is that affecting you neurologically?
So you talked a little bit
Are you
about
speechless?
always,
I
always.
can't breathe.
You talked about some of the bad things that happen when you don't breathe properly. What are some of the key benefits, particularly for athletes? Because you work with a lot of them. You work with a lot of UFC fighters and law enforcement personnel and fire department people who have very strenuous physical jobs. What are the benefits to people like that when they breathe properly?
Oh, it's fantastic. And that's the kind of thing that I absolutely love talking about, because your cardio can be amazing, but if your breathing muscles aren't strong, your endurance isn't the best it could be. So just imagine that is that you do a lot of cardio, you really focus on your conditioning, but if you're weak, and they're going to be weak if you don't work them aside from your sport, your endurance isn't what it could be. So what's fascinating is taking someone who's got really good cardio and then working their breathing fantastic. And all of a sudden, their endurance and the amount of gas they have in their body skyrockets. So that's absolutely tremendous. What's interesting in working with athletes is that if I work with athletes that need more endurance, just doing breathing exercises hard really works. Athletes that have to be precise. So if you think about golfers, or you think about um, archery of all things, if you can imagine But if you look at precision in sports or even precision in life, if you are a tattoo or a surgeon, these are all things that have to be really, really precise. And your breath is really important. If you don't know how to hold your breath in a way to be able to hit that ball or hold that needle, it's really important both for endurance sports, but also for precision sports as well.
Awesome. So one of my favorite things is weightlifting, and breathing is very important in weightlifting. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Oh, sure. Okay. So the biggest mistakes that people make when they're weightlifting, so with their breath, is that they will either breathe in the wrong direction. They'll hold their breath throughout the entire workout, or they'll brace or hollow out when they should be breathing. So we can talk about each of those. And if we take the squat, because I love squatting, as Sean knows, and you will often find me in the gym squatting, is if you're trying to move a lot of weight, you're going to inhale, and this is Valsalva, of course, but most people do not do Valsalva right. So we can talk about that. And actually, I'm sure, Orlando, you do Valsalva right. And I'm sure
I don't
Sean,
know what that
too.
means, but I'll say I do it.
Yeah, you have to explain that whole concept too, please.
Okay, well, it's the idea of bracing so that you protect your spine, but also the breath to help you push more weight or do more reps. That's kind of it in a very, very concise nutshell. So what you're wanting to do and say that you're squatting is that you want to take a deep breath and you want to brace. So the first mistake that people do is that they'll take a deep breath, but they'll take a big breath. So you're not really protecting your lower and mid spine if you're breathing through your chest. So the first thing to do is take a big belly breath and then don't transfer it up to your chest. Keep it in the lower part of your body and then compress your body. So if that makes sense, you're not usually what we're told is that brace as if you're going to get hit in the stomach. That means you will brace the front of your body, but you actually have to brace the sides, the back, and the underneath, your bicycle seat. And that way you won't have pelvic floor prolapse. Sean, what's it called? Red sock, pink sock? You won't have the bottom of your body fall out later on, which
when your intestines...
This sounds a little bit gross. Wait, I want a further explanation. What the hell are you guys talking about?
Well, she's referring to sometimes in extreme cases, there's only been a couple of them, but when weightlifters are lifting a lot of weight and they don't breathe and brace properly, there is a tendency for some of the insides to come out due to the pressure in the abdominal cavity. So I think that's what Belisa's referring to there.
I don't mean to get gross, but you talk about like insides come out through the anal area.
Through your ass, that's correct.
I'm talking about rectal prolapse. Yeah, rectal or vaginal prolapse. But the precursor to that is actually just leaking a little bit. So you'll have folks in CrossFit, and I love CrossFit, but you'll have folks in CrossFit actually be proud of lifting and peeing a little bit, lift. And the fact is that if you're starting to pee when you lift, when you cough, when you jump, it means you're herniating your pelvic floor. So your pelvic floor, and you may not know this, how many muscles in your pelvic floor?
4?
I got 1.
No, it's not one. So most of the time guys go, one muscle, I don't have one. And the fact is that you have 20 muscles in your pelvic floor. So your whole pelvic floor, if you count the muscles that connect to it and support it, you have 20 muscles in your pelvic floor. So you have the small pelvic floor, and that's the bicycle seat. So it's the part of you that hits the bicycle seat, and then you have all the muscles around it that support it. So if you think about it, it's actually the bottom to the diaphragm. If you think about your thoracic diaphragm, that's right at the bottom of your run, another 1.5 feet, there's where your pelvic diaphragm is. And if you're not breathing right, eventually you're going to start herniating your pelvic floor. And that's, actually why the adult incontinence industry is so big. I remember being in a grocery store years ago, and, you might have had like some adult diapers, and now there's just entire rows of incontinence products. And it's because we're really throwing our pelvic floors out of whack. And with us that do heavy lifting, if we're not doing Valsalva right, we're going to be the ones wearing adult diapers as well.
Okay, so number one, I don't ever want to go to a CrossFit gym ever again. If peeing is known as a good thing as you lift, I'm going to stay away from there. But on the subject of the gross stuff still, apparently breathing can help you with things like irritable bowel syndrome and GI tract kind of stuff. So
Yes.
so
Linda,
I mean, how?
Great question.
How is this going to help me?
So that's absolutely going to help you. So if you think about irritable bowel goes together with things like GERD, rumination, acid reflux, heartburn. So let's just talk about the less gross ones that are in the easier side of the scale, the lighter symptoms, which are heartburn and so if you think about, everybody's talking about having acid reflux. It seems to be sort of the in disorder to have, along with adrenal fatigue, is acid reflux. So what acid reflux is, usually that you're not eating the right foods, that you're not chewing, and that you're not using your diaphragm, secondary esophagus that it is. So often I'll have patients come to me and they'll say, well, I've been told that, I have really bad acid reflux. It's turning into GERD. I have to, I'm taking these medications. I might want to consider surgery. And the fact is, if you're not breathing with your diaphragm, it's not keeping everything down the way it should be. So chewing, eating better foods, and actually breathing with your diaphragm so that it's coming down and helping peristalsis, which is the massage of your intestines, will actually help you with all those things: irritable bowel, GERD, acid reflux, and heartburn.
Yeah, before we go any further, I think a lot of people might get lost with the science of this, or the initial reaction, I think, when you're hearing about breathing training for the first time is that it just seems like it's something you can overlook. It's not that important, or it's a little, out there. Can you just, to bring it back down to earth, explain to us, drop some names, if you will, some of the professional athletes you've worked with, some of the celebrities, and if you can, give an anecdote about what this kind of work did for them.
So, I work with all kinds of athletes, and right now I'm actually working with hockey players. Because it's interesting how they have to breathe really quickly for a couple seconds and then sit down, recover, and then go do it all over again. So each sport is really different as far as how they need to breathe and how they need to train their breathing muscles. I'm not great at name dropping, but I will tell you that, for instance, people that are trying to get to the next level as far as their belts in martial arts and in jiu-jitsu, and need to have more energy or need to calm their nerves, and it has helped tremendously. When I work with firemen or SWAT, Homeland Security, DEA, police departments, as far as being able to calm yourself down when you get what's called an adrenaline dump, works terrifically well. And then just for your average Joe, being able to go to sleep and dealing with your back pain, those are the two that people are just fascinated. And believe me, I was surprised too, that when you change your breathing, you'll be able to sleep, because it is, I think, National Sleep Month this month. And a lot of us are exhausted, but we lay in bed awake.
Well, some people lay in bed. Not me and John, though.
Lay in bed
in Austin.
Well, so sleeping gets fixed pretty quickly once you change your breathing, and your back pain actually gets a lot better as well. So I have a lot of people that aren't athletes that are saying, what can it do for me as an average person? I want to be able to sleep, and my back hurts. And those are two things that get better immediately once you change the style of your breathing and start using the right muscles.
So sleep is such an important thing for everybody, no matter if you're an athlete, regular person, doesn't matter. What are some advice and some tips you can give for breathing for better sleep, maybe to help you relax a little bit and, keep your mind from wandering off?
Well, yeah, you do want your mind to wander off. You just want it to wander off.
Mind wander off on things they shouldn't be thinking about when you're trying to go to bed, like financial statements and all that kind of stuff.
Sure. So I think that the first thing that we have to think about, people breathe up and down. So if you just check yourself right now, as far as your breathing, if you take a deep breath, you're going to find you get a little bit taller. And when you exhale, you get a little bit shorter. And most of us think that this is the right way to breathe. But if you were to look at yourself when you were about 5 years old, you weren't breathing this way. And you look at pretty much any 5-year-old on the planet, and their middles expand and their middles contract. So if you can get yourself to do that throughout the day, take a belly breath, even though the air doesn't go into your belly. And then on the exhale, really narrow your body and not have your shoulders move upward, then that's telling your body it can calm down. So when it comes to sleeping, if you can take a calming breath every once in a while, just take the machine that your body is and turn it off just for a couple seconds throughout the day. When you go to turn the switch off at night, you'll actually be able to go to sleep better because you weren't on high alert all day long. And then once you're in bed, you have to make sure that what's called your sleep hygiene, which is such a bad name for it, but your sleep hygiene is good, and that you're taking good lower body breaths that calm you down. So everything I do and everything I'm talking about is based in science. I'm kind of a nerd that way, but I like numbers that show that you're getting better, and I like studies and science that show that this is correct. And that lower body breath brings your heart rate down, brings your blood pressure down, brings your cortisol down, and brings your immune system up. So just changing your breath from being a vertical breath to a horizontal breath makes a huge difference in your body. And if you're trying to get to sleep and you're breathing vertically, the system is hearing it's not time to sleep. It's still time to fight or to run or to worry or to think. So as soon as you switch to the lower part of your body, well, then your lavender candles and your mantras and your Enya and anything else that you have on to help you go to sleep will work.
Cannot sleep without my Enya.
So sleep hygiene is important as well. It's kind of boring, but sleep hygiene is important because most of us go to sleep, and you can do this. You go into your room and turn off all your lights and just take a look to see how many little red and green lights are on in your room. And those will kind of pierce through your eyelids. So a good thing to do is go to your room and either with a marker or tinfoil, get rid of all those little red lights. So make sure it's incredibly dark in your room, total vampire dark. The other thing is sound machines rather than your phone, because I want to keep you away from your phone at night. So I have like at least 3 of those round ones that make sort of whooshing noises. So make sure you have some of those. Lower the temperature in your room so it's a little bit chillier, so you're actually really comfortable under your comforter. And make sure that you have earplugs and that everything else is off. So the earplugs will actually calm you down, and you can start getting your body to realize it's time to go to sleep. Because we don't have sleep rituals. When you were a little kid, when it was little Orlando and little Sean, like you'd have to put on your jammies, you'd have to take a tubby, you probably had a cookie or something like that.
So now as grown-ups,
you still have a cookie?
No, I don't. I wish I did.
But we had rituals then, and then like you knew you were supposed to go to sleep, and you went to sleep. And now as adults, we just run as fast as we can. We're texting until the moment we get to bed. Sometimes we're texting in bed. Lights are on, there's noises outside, and we're wondering why we can't get to bed. So if you do all those things, you get yourself used to actually feel really cool. There are these blue earplugs. You put them in and it goes, they just fill up your ears and make this great sound and just make you feel like really kind of protected. And I don't know, it's kind of interesting. No sound comes through. And then you start breathing through your belly. And I say through your belly, but all that means is that your belly expands and contracts. And what I like doing is taking a bag of rice or a bag of beans. And I always say black beans because I'm Cuban and we like black beans, but it can be any kind of beans. You put them on your belly, and on the inhale, you push the bag away. And if you understand how it works, is that when you're pushing the bag away, your diaphragm is actually coming down in your body and spreading your ribs open. And then when you let the bag fall and actually really let it fall and come into your body, your whole body is squeezing out all that air. So that's what you're doing. Inhaling, pushing the bag away, exhaling, letting it fall. And you slow that down. You go slowing it down, slowing it down, slowing it down. And eventually you end up falling asleep just because you have no choice, because you've done everything to tell your body and your brain it's time to go to sleep.
That's a great drill. Could you take us through another example or two of breathing workouts that we can start applying tomorrow to become better breathers and especially to enhance endurance and other aspects that are applicable in sports?
Sure. Well, one of the things I like to do is make sure that you're exhaling. The exhale is the underdog. I'm big on the underdog. And the fact is that a lot of the discomfort we have around breathing comes because we over inhale and we never exhale. So we have this disruption of CO2. If you've seen Hickson Gracie's Choke, he talks about black gas. And in general, people are always saying, like, breathe in the joy, exhale out, the bullshit or whatever. And the fact is that your exhale, CO2, is not bad. We do need a combination of both that are in balance in our bodies. And often what happens is that we're breathing so much that we just don't exhale enough. So a lot of the inflammation and disrupted pH and acidity in our body comes from the inhale and exhale being out of control. So I would say if you want to do a couple quick things that are really good for you is focus right now on your exhale. So see you're doing right now is probably about 2 tablespoons. You don't even notice it coming out of your nose, is that you exhale, you kind of let it go. If you have a belly, you kind of just let the air go and you squish yourself down a little bit. What I want you to do is actually exhale and squeeze your belly. And by squeezing your belly, you're actually squeezing your ribs and you're squeezing your lungs. So you're getting all the air out of your body. So take a really good exhale right now. And you might even roll back in your chair so that your back hits the back of the seat even more. Your belly button gets closer to your spine and your whole body narrows. That's an exhale. So your next inhale, come forward, relax your body, put your belly on your lap. That's a good inhale. Now, you can be really shredded and still be able to put your belly on your lap, still be able to expand your body from side to side. It doesn't need to be that you have this big gut and you put it on your lap, even though that's fine as well. But the inhale should be an expand and relax, and the exhale should be a roll back and really use your abs to squeeze out all the air. So the exhale is really important. If you want to do something right now, it's exhale, because you will always take a better inhale if you exhale first. And if you're a coach, instead of yelling breathe at your student, yelling exhale. So you can try that right now. I'm not hearing any breathing. I'm expecting to hear some loud breathing noises.
I'm scared I'm going to do it wrong, or I'm going to crack my spine.
Breathless with anticipation of the next point.
Can I just tell you, I read an article yesterday about King Arthur. It was a review of King Arthur. And it was hilarious because it was talking about the breathlessness that's in the movie. Is just everybody's panting and breathing heavy throughout the whole movie. Even the soundtrack, the songs in the soundtrack have all this breathing going on in it. I thought it was so well done. So I haven't seen it yet, but anything about breathing, I'm all over. So I'm interested in seeing it.
I know, you're even wearing the breath shirt. You're just a breath fanatic.
Yeah. I am a breathing fanatic for sure.
Awesome. So one thing you mentioned when you're giving some technique advice for breathing is the belly. And unless you're Sean Hyson, you're gonna have some belly fat. You're right. So apparently there's a correlation to breath and diets that plateau and belly fat. Tell us a little bit about that.
Oh, yeah, that's great. If your cortisol is up, if you're stressed out and your cortisol is up, you're going to have belly fat. So if you're walking around and you feel pretty good about your body, but you still have a little bit of fat around your middle, it's probably that you're stressed out and your cortisol is high and your body sort of hangs on to fat, especially around the middle when your cortisol is high. So often I'll see people who are fit, but the type of exercising they do isn't necessarily, they don't have anything calming going on in their agenda. So they'll go from stressed out work to stressed out spin class to hot yoga. And then they wonder, why is my cortisol so high and why can't I get rid of this belly fat? So it's exactly that, is that you need to throw some calm and some mindfulness and some good horizontal breathing into your life if you really want to get rid of that belly fat.
Man, I really need to do that. I think my cortisol's up. Maybe that's the problem.
That's it? I think it's that cookie at bedtime.
It could be the cookie.
That's what I think.
Maybe. I don't know. It makes me happy, so it's reducing it.
There we go.
There's another drill you do, Belisa, with a balloon. Can you tell us about how you use the balloon?
Sure. That that gadgets that you put in your mouth to restrict your breathing seem to have gotten really popular lately. And most of them are respiratory trainers. And again, I love any gadget that is going to bring attention to the breath. However, sometimes all you really need is a balloon. And you can do a lot of exercises without the gadget as well. If the gadget works for you, I'm all over it. Boss Rutan has one. There's the training mask as well. There's all kinds of interesting things out there. The balloon is something that I tell parents to use with their kids if their kids have asthma. If your kid gets diagnosed with asthma, you need to have them blowing up balloons with a horizontal breath. You will get rid of their asthma. They won't have to be on pumps forever, and you can actually strengthen their breathing muscles and help them lower or get rid of their asthma. So the blowing up the balloon is interesting because you have to do it with your belly, meaning with your diaphragm, not with your shoulders. So the record is 150 balloons, but if you do that lower body breath that we just did, where you let your belly expand and then you contract it on the exhale, and you add the balloon on the contraction and the exhale, it's going to give you resistance. So all of a sudden, exhaling is going to be hard. Now, what we usually do, and this is in the advanced warrior classes, is that you take 2 balloons and you go back and forth to see how many you can do. Time. And boy, your abs and your pelvic floor and all your internal core muscles get sore. And even your back. It's interesting how people come back the next day and go, this was a breathing class. I'm exhausted and my back muscles hurt or my abs hurt, but I'm shredded. How can I actually have worked more muscles? And it's because your core muscles that have to do with your breathing are ones that you don't work out naturally. So the balloons are great because, they're cheap. You can buy them anywhere. And if you have a child with asthma, using the balloons is really good for them.
So just to be clear,
the other thing I really like.
Oh, sorry. But just to be clear about that drill so people can understand and visualize it, you're putting the balloon up to your mouth. You're going to blow it up normally. But every time you're never taking another breath out without removing your lips from the balloon, right? You're going to blow it up and then take a nose breath in and then keep blowing up so it gets bigger and bigger. You're never letting the breath out of the rubber.
I'm looking for a balloon to see if I can show you. So what happens is, I don't know what's going on with the rubber.
Well, I haven't played with balloons in a long time, but other rubber objects I may have more experience with.
No one your age range or any millennial on the planet is going to know what rubber is anyway, unless they've seen Grease or something. So it's okay. So you take the balloon, you inhale, and then you exhale out into the balloon. Inhale through your nose, blow out into the balloon. So you're sort of rocking forwards and back. Exhale, you're blowing into the balloon. So you're inhaling through your nose, blowing out through your mouth. So you keep the balloon in your mouth. Usually it's between 1.5 and 6 breaths to fill up the balloon. So that's actually what I go for. So that's what happens with the balloon. What you'll do is that you'll watch yourself when you get tired using your abs and your diaphragm is you'll switch to what should be your accessory muscles, your neck and shoulders and face and jaw muscles. And that's when you'll watch yourself do that. You shouldn't be doing that. That'll make you dizzy. And you actually just have to work out your lower body horizontal breathing muscles, your intercostals, by keeping the breath low and keeping your neck and shoulders still. So again, take the balloon or the rubber. If you're Sean, you're calling it rubber. You inhale, exhale out into the balloon, inhale, exhale, and you just watch yourself. Can you do 1 balloon? Can you do 10 in a row? Can you do 15? Making sure that you keep the breath low in your body. And I always say that you're using your abs, you're using your belly to fill up the balloon. Orlando, why are you cracking up? I'm looking at you. Orlando's all cracking up.
Because I was just thinking in my head, how much fun Sean is at a kid's birthday party where he's calling the balloons rubbers.
Well, it works with latex too. So just so we're clear.
Sean at a kid's birthday party is so inappropriate for so many reasons. It's just, a train wreck waiting to happen. Yeah. So,
but side note, you can probably put some helium in those balloons and then have an extra fun time.
Whippets. And you know what? When I do the meditation, and it's a short meditation, my meditation is called Meditation for People That Can't Meditate. I have people come out of it usually and say, "Oh, that felt like a nitrate party," or, "Wow, I feel really high." And it's kind of interesting because that's the kind of breathing that we'll do.
Well, that's awesome. We better get out of here before we have too much fun. But you have a book and you have a website and you offer some classes, I think locally.
What I'm doing right now is I'm actually doing a lot of teacher trainings. And I offer continuing education credits for that. So if you are a coach, a teacher, a physical therapist, a chiropractor, a nurse, anyone who wants to be able to work with their patients better, either to calm them down or have them perform better, that's what my teacher training class does. There is one coming up. Actually, there's about 6 coming up in Australia, if you happen to be down under. New York, Los Angeles, San Francisco. So I'm doing a lot of teacher training. And then the book is out. It's called Breathe. It's actually, here it is. It's called Breathe, the simple revolutionary 14-day program to improve your mental and physical health. And
hold that shit up. Hold it up.
Yeah, put it up to the camera.
There we go. That's me.
Awesome.
And you can get that pretty much anywhere, or you can go to your library and get it. I really, I love when people buy the book. It's awesome for me, but I also would just prefer they read it and get it from their library. If your library and you're listening and your library doesn't have it, please let me know. I will send them a copy. I'm on Facebook Lives all the time, so you can come onto my website, The Breathing Class or Dr. Belisa, and I'm great at answering messages if you email me about anything. So that's what I got going on.
And hopefully you're coming soon to the Onnit Academy in Austin.
I would love to come down there and see what kind of breathers we have over there.
Oh, you'll have a field day. You'll have a field day here.
Yeah, for sure. We'll do a part 2 of this interview in person, and we'll have a ton of fun. We'll get some balloons and we'll just get crazy.
We'll get some rubbers and
we'll get some rubbers and get crazy.
Like, it'll be a party. Thanks for having me, you guys. It was great.
Thanks, Dr. Belisa. Thanks, Sean. Until next time. See you guys.